Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. Delighted, as always, to be joined by Noel and Greg. This is a big fight breakdown for the undisputed fight at Super Bantamweight taking place on Boxing Day this year, the 26th of December. Naoya Inoue will face Marlon Tapales for all the belts at Super Bantamweight in Tokyo, Japan. Gents, um, interesting fight here. Look, it's another undisputed fight. We obviously had an undisputed fight earlier this year between Errol Spence and Terence Crawford. We've got another one between Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk in February. But yeah, we're here to discuss this one, and it's one I think a lot of people are looking forward to. We can debate whether these two guys are the best at super bantamweight. Obviously, Inouye's just had the one fight at super bantamweight against Stephen Fulton, but yeah, looking forward to getting into this one with you. First question I'm going to ask both of you is Tapales a tougher opponent than Stephen Fulton? Obviously, we've already touched on the fact that this is only his second fight of the weight, and he's already fighting for the undisputed championship. But I want to know who is the tougher opponent here. Greg, I'll go with you first. Obviously, back in I think it was July, Inoue dispatched of Stephen Fulton with relative ease. Most would say got rid of him inside 8 rounds. Tapales, some people would say it's a tougher challenge. Some people wouldn't do. What are your thoughts?
First of all, I can't believe you said that was July. It felt like we were chatting about that fight yesterday. Where has the last 5 months went? In ways, it's tougher because I think looking at Tapales, I watched his fight with I'm not even going to try and pronounce his name. No, I will. Akhmadaliev. I don't know if that's a good guess or not, but he looked as though he knew he was up against a really good technical boxer, and he tried to lead him into traps. I don't think Fulton is as good as Tapales at leading into traps, but I do think that Fulton is a better overall boxer, smarter when it comes to his attacks and things. So it's a very, very different fight, Elliot. But if you're asking me pound for pound, who do I think the toughest opponent was? I have to say Fulton.
Yeah, fair enough. Fulton was undefeated until he came up against Inoue. Tapales, on the other hand, wasn't expected to win that fight against Akhmadaliev. Let's be honest. Won the fight on a split decision, was a fantastic performance. However, he has been beaten 3 times in his career and been stopped twice. However, look, some of those it's interesting looking at different people's resumes. Tapales, some of those defeats were a very long time ago, so with sometimes you can't really kind of judge someone their defeats when they were so many years ago. Niall, would you agree with Greg? Do you think Fulton was the tougher challenge than Tapales is now? Or would you disagree and think Tapales is the tougher fight?
Yeah, no, I'd have to agree totally. Like, I think Fulton was the man at 122 before Inoue came, and to fight him in his first fight at the weight and to do what he done to him, I still can't get over that performance. To be honest, it was the joint best performance of the year for me, along with Crawford against Spence, and the two best fighters in the world, and they came on the same week. I think them two fights were so. Yeah, it was an amazing performance. But yeah, I think no disrespect to Palace, who I think is a top fighter, but anyway, Fulton was the number one
Mm.
at 122 for me at the time. So just in terms of an all round fighter, as Greg said, and just the talent, yeah. So it's definitely a tougher test that he's already overcame back in July.
Yeah, brilliant. It's a big statement you've made there, saying that was kind of first or second or joint best performance of the year from Naoya Inoue, and I find it hard to disagree with you. I just think that he came up against Fulton, and some people thought he would kind of come unstuck. It was a weight category too many, but look, just battered him around for 8 rounds and got the stoppage. Do you want to ask guys if who is Inouye's toughest test at 122 pounds? If he's already done that in Stephen Fulton, if there's someone else you've got in mind. I don't think it's the most star-studded division in world boxing. In my opinion, Akhmadaliev is another potential opponent for Inoue. It's the guy that Tapales narrowly beat earlier this year. Luis Nery, the Mexican's another one. Casemiro is called for that Inoue fight. in the past. He's maybe kind of getting on a little bit now, but yeah, that is another fight. Could be kind of a bit of a not quite a rhetorical question here, but Niall, I'll go back to you. Was Stephen Fulton still like the toughest guy for Inoue out there, or is there a bigger challenge for him at super bantamweight, would you say?
Yeah, as we mentioned, I think me and Greg agree, and yourself, that Fulton was the toughest test that he could get at super bantamweight. But aside from Fulton, if we're looking elsewhere in the division, I always say the best chance of beating Inoue is a big puncher, a powerful puncher, or a big physical fighter that's can knock him back onto his heels, and kind of crack the chin or kind of bully him up close. So you have your likes of the two toughest tests for me would be, as you mentioned, Casemiro or Neary, just because of the power. Can that power catch Inoue's attention and kind of get his respect? If we were to, we mentioned off camera, I still think Inoue would win those two fights and fairly comfortably, but that says more about what a special talent Inoue is than, these are top world champions, Inoue or Neary and Casemiro. So I would be interested to see them fights just purely for the power aspect and what happens when they land on the chin of Inoue. But as we've seen against Donaire, he can take a shot as well,
Mm.
which makes him kind of even scarier. He's so well rounded in terms of his boxing, his speed, his power, and his chin. So, yeah, Neary or Casemiro for me, but I'd still expect Inoue to pass them tests with flying colours.
Yeah, like, I think it's a bit of a scary thought. Like we've mentioned some good fighters there. Stephen Fulton, look, is a very good fighter. And the fact that I just think that I don't think there's many people that would pick any of those guys to beat Inoue at the moment. It just feels like he is so far ahead of a lot of the competition at the moment. But who knows? And look, we'll see if Inoue has to get past Tapales, and if he does get past him, we'll see kind of what happens next if he continues to move up in weight, if he settles at 122 pounds for a period. Greg, if I was to ask you who Inoue's toughest test is 122 pounds, what would the answer be for you?
And disagree with Niall. Elliot, but I think I've got a bit of I don't know if it's a throwaway answer or it's a bit, yeah, I'm just going to come out with it. I don't think Naoya Inoue's got a test unless it is size and power. And I think that the next test for Naoya Inoue might be at £135. I just think I look at 122, I look at 122, I look at 126, and you've got Lee Woods, you've got Joe Cordina, very good fighters in their own right, big fighters. But I just think if Nui carries the power up there, do these guys stop him? And I don't think they do. I think the one thing that's going to come undone with Naoya Inoue is his size. Let's look at another fighter. Let's look at Manny Pacquiao. The first time that I seen Manny Pacquiao starting to find his limit, and it wasn't even a fighter who ran him close, was Antonio Margarito. Very controversial, I get it. That fight was at 154 pounds, if I remember.
Mm.
And there were just times where I seen Margarito lean on Pacquiao, hit him, and you seen Pacquiao thinking, "Oh my god, like I know I'm better than you, but at the same time, this is a bit big. It's a big ask." And I see the same thing for Naoya Inoue. Elliot, I just think size and power is going to be the only thing that beats him.
Yeah, I think just a reminder. I mean, I'm sure we've got some Inoue experts watching this, and some not so much. But Naoya Inoue started his career at light flyweight. He's now at super bantamweight, and
Yeah.
so it's pretty scary. Like he's kind of to have you kind of you. I feel like it's once or twice in a generation you get fighters who can continue to move up weights and continue to have success at those weights. I feel like Canelo is another example.
Yeah.
If you look at Canelo, like he's not a big guy. He's not really a super middleweight. Yeah, he's dominated that division for so many years now. So it takes a special fighter to do that. I've had a cheeky look at some of the betting odds, gents. Inoue is widely expected to win this fight, if we're being honest. He is the betting app I'm looking at currently has him as a 1-16 favourite and 1-5 to win by stoppage. So it's maybe not the most competitive fight we're ever going to see. But good luck to Tapales. He's got a really big test in front of him. Assuming that Inoue does win this fight, will this be his final fight at super bantamweight? We mentioned some of the names he's got. There's that Casemiro fight is arguably still a big fight. Um, and yeah, I think there's he's not necessarily in a rush, is he? Could just kind of have a kind of another fight in Japan next year against the top 10 super bantamweight, or he could say I'm done with this division. I'm moving up to featherweight, and I'm gonna become undisputed champion there in 2024. No, what's your gut telling you? Assuming Inoue does win, is your gut telling you that he stays at super bantamweight for a period, or he just goes straight to featherweight?
I think it just makes sense to move up. You know, if he wins this fight, he's done it all in his second fight at the weight, undisputed champion again. So there's nothing on paper left for him to do. We mentioned the tests of Casemiro and Inoue, and I wouldn't really complain if them fights did get made. You know, as I said, they'd be interesting to see. The caveat of the power, would the power kind of would he take that well anyway? But as I mentioned, I think he does pass the test. So if he wins this fight against the Palace, which he is obviously widely expected to do, I just think it makes the most sense for him to move up. The appetite isn't there for anybody else for him to defend his undisputed crown against, you know. So yeah, I can see him. I'd wish he'd move up if he does win. And there's kind of that thing we mentioned earlier of how many weights can he keep jumping before somebody actually tests him. You know, if he goes to featherweight, I think he beats everybody there. You know, as Greg said as well earlier, to kind of 135 would be where he'd be finding his limit, which is crazy to say, but it's probably true. They were talking about him moving up three more weight classes before somebody could even give him a test. So, yeah, if he wins this, I'd love to see him move up to featherweight, and he probably becomes undisputed there as well. He's such a rare breed of fighter that it's just unfortunately he's a rare breed of fighter nowadays that he's chasing legacy, and his legacy is already fantastic, but I think it's going to get better the more he moves up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's scary. Yes, it's scary. We're talking about someone moving up weights like this. Greg, do you share Niall's view? What's your gut telling you that Inoue will do if he won't have to having to say if he wins on December 26th? We don't want to kind of completely write Tapales off, but if he wins as we're expecting him to, do you expect him to keep moving up, or do you think he might have another fight at super bantamweight?
I do. You rarely, I don't know why, maybe it's just good minds think like you rarely see me disagree with I. We seem to think on the same kind of path. I see him moving up. The thing is, Elliot, boxing's a business uh, as well as a sport for plaudits, for achievements. These guys want to make money. It's well known in boxing. The more money you want to make, you need to go to the higher weights. You're not going to get paid the same money for fighting at 118 pounds as you would for 126 or 135. He's done everything he needs to do in boxing. He's already a legend in my eyes. He's already one of the best pound for pound fighters in the world. It's time now to get the fights that he wants and make the correct amount of money that he deserves. So I think you see a new move up after this. I think it's 126. If he comes through that with flying colours, I think you quickly see him move up to 135. If he has a couple of maybe, I don't want to look past the Palace. I feel like I'm being disrespectful because Palace is a good fighter and I can see him leading Inoue into traps if he's not careful. But Inoue's just that good that I just think that we need to look at these bigger fights. And I think the big fights for him lie at 126 and 135. So it'll be really, really interesting. Well, 126, 130, 135, especially 135. But yeah, I just think he moves up early. That's where the money is.
Yeah, look, it's perhaps kind of a different question what the next 2-3 years of Inoue's career looks like. I think it's a possibility he could just basically move up and down the weights from 126 to 135, and where are the biggest fights, where are the undisputed opportunities. There's a possibility he might not actually settle at one weight division to be honest. I do think that's a genuine possibility. There's so many big fights in those three weight divisions. Whether it's kind of a Luis Alberto Lopez, which is obviously would be a massive fight at featherweight, and of course, yeah, at lightweight, there's kind of names that are kind of a very obvious that could greatly appeal in the next couple of years. Finish off, gents. We are going to do predictions. I'm going to allow you to have a 2-round swing for your prediction. If you're picking Inoue by knockout, you could be going for Inoue by points. You never know. I'm going to go first. I think it will be in the first half of the fight. But I think, I think Tapales. Look, I'm sure he'll kind of try his best and he'll give it his all. And I think he's done extremely well to be in the position he is now. Tapales. Nobody really fancied him to beat Akhmadaliev. But I'm going to go in the kind of early mid rounds. I'm going to go rounds 4 or 5. Now I'll let you take it away with yours.
Yeah, again, as we mentioned, it's hard not to kind of do this video and not be coming off as disrespectful towards the Tapales, but that's not how it is because I really rate the Tapales, like, and I'm sure you do too as a fighter. Like he's a really good fighter. He proved his worth against Akhmadaliev. So, but there's nobody in the immediate future that can touch this man or get near anyway, and there's no shame in that. So I'm gonna say that Tapales, as Greg mentioned, he set traps beautifully for Akhmadaliev in that fight. You know, he fought a more kind of counter-punching defensive style than what he's normally used to fighting in his other fights. I think that took some people by surprise. He normally puts it on them and puts his shots together well, and he's quick. But I think if he kind of boxes off the back foot, you know, counters well like he did last time out, it'll have him success early. But I'm gonna say he gets caught eventually. But I'm gonna say second half of the fight, probably 7-9. He gets broken down and stopped. There's no shame in it, but I think he'll have relative success early on, and then anyway, I'll get to him like he does with everybody, and he'll get him out of there. So yeah, 7-9 for me.
Fair enough. I think that's similar to the Stephen Fulton fight, which ended in round 8. Greg, what is your prediction at this stage for Inoue versus Tapales?
It's so strange. See, with the greatest of respect, Niall has annoyed me a bit in this video because I actually sound like a carbon copy of him at times, and I'm like, I've got my own mind, I've got my own mindset, but I can't. You can't just be controversial and disagree with someone just for the sake of it. I actually completely agree with them. I feel like I've been a total dick to Tapales in this video. I think he's a very good fighter, very skillful, leads his fighters into traps so well, very intelligent, but there's levels to boxing. And I think Inoue is just one of these fighters. He just comes along like once in a generation. And I just think that anything between 6 and 8, I think he's going to find a way of stopping Tapales. But I think Tapales is going to maybe be a bit of a jigsaw for the first little bit of the fight. And then I think Inoue knows that maybe the way the Akhmadaliev fight went, I need to start taking chances. And I think that's what you need to do with Tapales. So I see Inoue running out between 6 and 8, Elliot.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how Tapales approaches the fight.
Yeah.
Hopefully goes in there and has a go. Like, no disrespect, but I just thought I was so do you remember when Paul Butler fought Inoue? And it was all about not getting stopped. He didn't look like he had any intention to actually try and win the fight. And it was just kind of a shame, really. And I just hope that Tapales goes in there, believes in himself, and has a go and says, look, I'm meant to be here as well. I deserve to be here. I'm going to kind of shock the world here. I really hope he goes in there with that attitude.
I tried not to mention that fight the whole time in this video.
I know, I'm the same, yeah.
Mate, it's like, fuck, it's like 30 minutes I'm never getting back from my life. Like, well done to Paul Butler for hanging in there, but was there ever a hanging in there world title to win? No. So, enough said.
It's like he kind of forgotten the objective of boxing, but never mind.
And then they annoyed me as well with the Instagram post that came out after the fight when they said round 1, they said like they were proud of kind of, as I say, fair play for hanging in there, but no, it was a bad one, that.
Not British boxing's finest moment. But anyway, we'll move on. Naoya Inoue versus Marlon Tapales, December 26th, undisputed super bantamweight championship of the world. Greg, Niall, it will be Boxing Day, but I know you'll both be watching. I'll be watching, and we'll all enjoy it. Thank you very much for your time, and I'll speak to you again soon.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks, guys.